Hello guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make this beautiful dress with shoulder drawstring and a back waistline. It is very simple, detailed and beginner friendly. So if this looks like what you're interested in, please watch this video till the end. And if this is your first time on this channel, please click on the subscribe button and also don't forget to like, share and drop a comment. So now we are going to dive into today's tutorial proper. The first thing I'm going to be doing is to draft on my pattern paper, after which I'll go ahead to transfer it to my main fabric. So first I'll go ahead to draw a starting line, which is going to be serving as my shoulder line. So all measurement will be starting from this line you see me drawing at this point. Next, I'll go ahead to insert my vertical measurement, which is my shoulder to bust point, that is 10 inch. Then shoulder to under bust is 13.5 inch, and my shoulder to half length is 18 inch. After marking this point, I'll draw straight horizontal lines with my ruler like this. After drawing the horizontal lines, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to come down by 5 inch from the waistline for the back's effect, because the dress has a back's effect. So I'll come down by 5 inch and mark. After marking that, I'll go ahead to draw a straight horizontal line at the point I just marked with my ruler, like you see me doing in the video. So here we have the bust point, the under bust, the waistline, and the hip line. Next, we're going to go ahead to move over to the shoulder line. And on the shoulder line, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inch. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8 inch. I'll go ahead to mark that. After marking that, next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to insert the length of the sleeve. That is where I want the sleeve length to stop. I'll go ahead to mark that at this point also. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert the neck width. So for the neck width, I'll be marking the neck width of 3.5 inch, and I'll go ahead to mark that. After marking that, I'll move over to this point and come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope also and mark. Then I'll connect the shoulder slope to the neck width with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. After doing this, the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to insert my sleeve opening. So for my sleeve opening, I'm going to be using 8 inch for the sleeve opening. I'll go ahead to mark that. Then I'll draw a straight horizontal line with my ruler like you see me doing in the video. After doing this, I'm going to go ahead to extend my bust point and the under bust line. So for this dress we are making, you don't need your bust measurement. All you need is your waist measurement, your under bust measurement, and also your hip measurement. And also, this dress is made up of three parts. We have the upper part, the part with the backs, and also the lower part, which is going to be gathered. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do now is to go over to my underbust line, and I'll mark my underbust measurement divided by 4. After marking that, the next thing to do is to determine how full I want it to be, because the underbust of the dress is gathered. So what I'll go ahead to do is to minus 3 inch from the measurement I have on the shoulder line. So on the shoulder line, what I have on the shoulder line is 18 inch in total. So I'll be minusing 3 inch from that. I'll just go ahead to mark the 15 inch on the other bust line with my ruler like you see me doing in the video. So I'm going to be gathering this back to my actual underbust measurement later on. After doing that, I'll go ahead to connect the sleeve opening to the point I just marked with the cuff part of my ruler like this. So the next thing to do now is to move over to the waistline, and on the waistline I'll go ahead to insert my waist measurement divided by 4, and I'll mark that also. Then I'll move over to the hip line and insert my hip measurement divided by 4. After marking this, I'll go ahead to connect the underbust line to the waistline and the waistline to the hip line using my ruler like you see me doing in the video. So note that I am yet to insert my sewing allowance. You can decide to add your sewing allowance to your pattern, or you do that while cutting on your fabric. So once I'm done with this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert the back's effect. And to do that, I'll go ahead to divide what I have between my waistline and my hip line into two. I'll mark that, then I'll connect the center to the hem of the dress with the curved part of my ruler like you see me doing in the video. So if you want it to have this V shape, you can use the straight part of your ruler. After doing this, you're going to move over to the neckline. So I've already gone ahead to insert the neck width. Next, I'll go ahead to insert the neck depth. So for the neck depth, I'm going to be marking my bust point area for the neck depth. But while sewing, I'm going to be doing an overlap. Then I'll decide how deep I want the neck. But at this point, you can also go ahead to decide how deep you want the front neckline to be. So this is for the front neckline. Next, I'll go ahead to insert the back. So I don't want the back neckline to be too open. I'm going to be marking 8 inch for the depth of the back. Then I'll go ahead to draw the V neckline like you see me doing in the video. So basically this is what the pattern drafting is going to look like. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut it out. Then I'll go ahead to transfer this to my main fabric. So just watch where I'm cutting out so you know the exact part to cut out when cutting yours. So after cutting, this is what we're going to be having. I'm going to be using this pattern to cut both the front and the back. So I'll go ahead to cut out the back first, then I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So here I went ahead to cut out the back block of the dress, and the first thing I went ahead to do was to mark a zip allowance of 1 inch on the center back. Don't forget to do that. Then on the neckline and also on the waistline, I marked a seam allowance of 0.5 inch. On the shoulder line, I marked 1 inch for the sewing allowance because I'll be creating a casing for the drawstring. And also on the armhole line, I marked 1 inch sewing allowance because I'll be folding the sleeve opening of the dress. Then I marked 0.5 inch on this side. Then on the lower part, what I did was to mark 0.5 inch allowance on the waistline and also on the hem. But on the zipper allowance, I marked 1 inch, and also on the side, I mark 1 inch for the side seam allowance. So when cutting, make sure that you add your side seam allowance to avoid shortage. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to eliminate the zipper bulge, and to do that on the waistline, I'm going to be going in by 0.5 inch and mark. After marking that, I'll go ahead to use my ruler to connect that point back to the waistline, and I'll also go ahead to take it downward with my ruler like this. Then I'll cut it out. This is going to prevent the zip from bulging out when the dress is being worn. So after cutting, this is what we're going to be having. The next thing I'll go ahead to do now is to use the same pattern paper to cut out the front block for the dress we are making. So here, when I had to cut out the front block of the dress we are making, note that when cutting the upper part of the front block, you're going to be cutting it separately, not on fold. And while cutting, I mark an allowance of 0.5 inch on the neckline and also on the waistline. While on the shoulder line and on the armhole opening, I marked 1 inch. So for the lower part, you'll be cutting the lower part on fold. Then you mark your allowance of 0.5 inch on the waistline and on the hem, and also 1 inch on the side of the dress. I also went ahead to cut out a lining piece for the lower part of the dress. So now we're going to go ahead to start stitching the piece together. So I'll go ahead to take off my pattern paper like you see me doing in the video, and I'll be working with the upper part of the dress first. So while cutting, I went ahead to cut out this facing. So this is what your facing should look like. If you want to attach a full lining to the dress, you can simply go ahead to attach a full lining. But if you're cutting a facing, all you need to do is to cut a long strip like this. So the next I'll go ahead to do now is to place my facing on the good face of my fabric like this. Then I'll go over to my sewing machine to stitch the fitting to the dress using 0.5 inch. After sewing it, I'll turn it over to the good face, give it a good press, and also secure it with my hemming gum. And also, I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the back block of the dress. I also went ahead to cut out the facing for the back block of the dress, and this is what that of the back looks like. I'll go ahead to attach it to the neckline, then I'll come back to show you the next step. So here I went ahead to attach the facing, and this is what we have after I was done attaching the facing. This is what you're going to be having. So I use my hemming gum to secure the facing at the back. So if you don't have a hemming gum, you can simply go ahead to run a top stitch so that the facing does not come out when the dress is being worn. And here we have the front block. So the next we are going to go ahead to do now is to determine how deep you want your neckline for the front to be. And to do that, first you're going to go ahead to come down by 1 inch for your shoulder allowance. Then from that 1 inch point, you mark the neck depth you want. So for me, I'm going to be marking 8 inch as the neck depth. Then I'll go ahead to overlap the front block like this. So you go ahead to place one of the piece on the other one to achieve the neck depth you want. So here I have 8 inch for the neck depth. Next, I'll go over to my sewing machine to stitch this part together. Then I'll run a gather stitch on the lower part of the dress. After which I'll come back to show you what next. So here I'm going ahead to secure the two pieces together, and I also went ahead to run a loose stitch for the gathers. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to gather this underbust area like you see me doing in the video. I'm going to go ahead to gather it at this point, and I'll also be repeating the same thing on the other side also. So after gathering, you're going to be having something like this. So make sure what you have is wide enough to accommodate the lower part of the dress. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do now is to bring in the lower part of the dress like this. Then I'll notch the center of the dress. Also make sure you notch the center part of the upper part also. Once you do that, next thing to do is to stitch the lower part to the upper part, making sure that the notch parts are aligning. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine to stitch the lower parts to the upper parts, making sure that the middle parts are aligning. So here I have the back block of the dress. I've also gone ahead to run a loose stitch on the lower part. So I'm going to go ahead to gather it. After gathering it, I'll go ahead to attach the upper parts to the lower part. Then I'll come back to show you what to do next. So after stitching the upper part to the lower part, this is what it looks like. So when stitching, make sure that you arrange the gathered part so it sits properly and it comes out really nice. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to attach my lining piece to it. So I'm going to be attaching my lining piece in such a way that the rough edge is going to be in between the lining piece and my fabric. I'm doing this to achieve a neat finishing on the inner part of the dress. But if you don't want to fix a lining to yours, can simply go ahead to skip this process and move over to the next step. So I'm going to be doing this on the front block, and I'll also be repeating the same process on the back. So here I have the back. I've already gone ahead to join the upper part to the lower part of the back. I'll be fixing my lining piece to the back the same way I'm going to be fixing it to the front block of the dress also. So once I'm done fixing the lining, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to join the shoulders of both the front and the back together using the 1 inch allowance I added. But before I go ahead to join the shoulders, I'm going to be folding the sleeve opening of both the front and the back separately. I'm going to go ahead to fold it in first, then you fold it again. After you're done folding the sleeve opening, then you go ahead to close up the shoulder using the 1 inch sewing allowance you added while drafting. So here I've gone ahead to join the shoulders area together, and I've also gone ahead to fold the sleeve opening, and this is what the inner part of the dress looks like after fixing my lining to it. As you can see, we have a neat finishing on the inner part. The next thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to create the casing for the rope we're going to be attaching on the shoulder area. And to do that, you're going to go ahead to open up the seam you have on the shoulder area. You fold in 0.25 inch, then you run a stitch. Make sure the space you have is wide enough to accommodate the strap you're going to be inserting into the casing. So I'm going to go back to my sewing machine to create the casing, then I'll come back to show you what next. So after creating the casing, this is what you're going to be having. This is what it should look like. Note that you're going to be having double casing on each side of the shoulder. And also, I went ahead to make this strap that I'm going to be inserting into the casing. And the length of the strap should be a little bit longer than the length of your shoulders. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to quickly do now is to insert the strap into the casing. So I've already gone ahead to insert that of this side. So when you pull, you're going to be having something like this. So I'm going to go ahead to insert the strap on this other side of the shoulder like you see me doing in the video. So after inserting the strap, the next you're going to go ahead to do is to pull it in. Then you're going to go ahead to run a top stitch on this side of the shoulder to keep the strap in place so it doesn't pull out. So once I'm done securing the strap, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to close up the sides of the upper part like this. So I'm going to be closing using the 1 inch side seam allowance I added while cutting. I'll stitch from the armhole area to the hem, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So after joining the front and the back together, this is what you're going to be having once you're done joining your front and back together. And also don't forget to notch the armhole area so that it lays flat because that part is curved. And this is what the back of the dress is going to look like once you are done joining the front and the back. You're going to be fixing your zipper on the center back. So the next thing to do now is to attach the third part of the dress on it, and to do that, the first thing you need to do is to take your measurement so as to know the length of the fabric you're going to be cutting out and also the width of the fabric you're going to be gathering on the dress. So to take your measurement, you're going to be starting from the underbust area. So my underbust is 13.5. I'll place my tape rule starting from 13.5, and also when taking the measurement, you're going to be taking from the side which is lower so you don't end up having one part looking longer. So you place your tape rule on the underbust, then you go ahead to take your full length measurement. So whatever you have from the underbust to the hem of the dress, you go ahead to minus it from your full length. So what I have here is 22 inch. I'll go ahead to minus it from the full length of the dress I'm making. So I'm making the longer version of this dress and the full length is 60 inch. So I'll be minusing 24 from 60 inch. Whatever I get will be the length of the fabric I'm going to be cutting. And for the width of the fabric to cut out, all you need to do is to take the round measurement of what you have on this part of the dress. Then you go ahead to cut out your fabric. So to cut out your fabric, you're going to be cutting at least times 3 or times 4 of whatever measurement you took on this part of the dress. So if you want it fuller and you have enough fabric, you can cut times 4 or times 5 of whatever measurement you took out. So here is the fabric I'm going to be using for the lower part. So I'm going to go ahead to minus what I took out on the upper part for my full length, then I'll cut it. After cutting it, I'll gather it, then I'll attach it to this part of the dress. So after attaching the lower part of the dress to the upper part, this is what I have. I went ahead to gather it and this is what it looks like once I was done gathering it on the dress. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to quickly do now is to finish up the dress, and what is left is to attach my zipper on the center back and also to close up the center back. After closing up the remaining part of the dress, I'm also going to go ahead to hem the lower part of the dress. So I'll go ahead to do all this, then I'll come back to show you the final look of the dress. So after fixing my zipper and closing up the lower part, this is what the dress looks like. So guys, if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to like, share and also drop a comment. This makes YouTube to recommend this video to other designers like you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my other tutorials.